Good morning, baseball fans. It is February 19th. This is season 2, episode 9, I think. I'm not positive on that. Y'all can fact check me. Of the Bourbon and Baseball show. We have Colby and Clay today. They look a little different than Shelby, I know. So Shelby is off being a good mentor, and she did not have time for us to. I'm just kidding. She's actually just out being a good mentor, so she could not record today. So I invited these two fine gentlemen to come and chat with me today. I am Suzy. Cheers. Just a warning, if F-bombs, not your thing, not your children's thing, you should probably put them away. I'm not going to tell you what to do, though, so, you do you. But F-bombs, big thing around here. Inappropriate adult humor, also a big thing around here, especially today since we're going to be talking about the bigger bases and all of that fun stuff. So, on with the show. You've been warned. Again, I'm Suzy. This is the Bourbon and Baseball show where I get to make the fucking rules. So I'm drinking a Bloody Mary. Cheers. Excuse me, that is very spicy today.
Was that kind of strong?
It's spicy. I added some spicy pickle juice to the Bloody Mary, and it hit just right. Anyhow, if I sound a little different today, I apologize to you guys. My external mic not wanting to play nicely today. So, anyhow, we will get into it. So, again, that is Colby, that is Clay, and they are from the Just Fantasy Baseball show on the Just Baseball Network. If you guys watched a couple of episodes back, we had Aram on the show that is one of the head honchos of Just Baseball. I say that, and it's kind of weird because he's a baby. Like, y'all are all babies because I'm ancient, and so it's a little weird. Anyhow, but we are going to kind of talk about the haps around the league, and then we'll get into y'all's kind of story. And how Just Fantasy Baseball became a thing on the Just Baseball Network. So, but let's kind of talk about the rule changes, the pitch clock, illegal pitches, balks, all that kind of fun stuff. What are y'all's thoughts on this, Colby, Clay?
Yeah, sure. So I do want to start and talk about the shift real quick because I was getting into a Twitter conversation. Suzy, first, thank you for having us. Fuck yeah. We don't really swear on our show that much, so it's fun to let it rip sometimes.
That's what happens when you don't get paid to do your shit. Like, you can do all of the things that you want to do. So,
well, on the Just Baseball show, I will say Jack McMullen is known for letting some F-bombs rip too. So, not a kid's show, definitely not a kid's show, but maybe it is. Like, grow up.
out of all of the boys, I think Jack McMullen is like my spirit animal. He's like that old sarcastic man. I love him.
He's 100% that. What you see is what you get there.
No.
But yeah, back to the shift real quick. I, for whatever reason, thought that the shift you could kind of get a workaround with the new shift rules where, like, you could have a player start on, say the shortstop is starting left of second base, right?
Right.
It's legal. Then upon throwing the ball, the shortstop could run over to the second base side, which you cannot do, which I learned like last week. So this was news to me. I thought that this was like some big loophole. I've figured it out. But no, what happens if you do that is it'll be called an automatic ball and restart. So just thought I'd bring that up because I didn't know.
I was thinking that as well. And I was like, well, how are they going to quote unquote know? Apparently, like when they do the lineup card and all that fun stuff, they literally have to put down all of the positions. I thought they had to put down all the positions to begin with, but apparently it's like now cemented in stone. And I was like, okay, so Jeremy Pena just can't like run over and switch positions with Altuve real quick? No? Okay, got it. So I wasn't thinking about that, like, to begin with. What I was thinking of was that, like, super extreme 4-man shift, literally, like, everybody in deep right field. You know what I'm talking about? And so it'll be interesting to see, what happens there. But the shift only covers the infield. It does not cover the outfield. So, I mean, really, you just want to throw all your outfielders over there, I guess that's not against the rules, correct?
It is not. I think you can bring for example, you have to have 2 players on either side of the infield. But you could bring your left fielder over to right field, for example, and play him in that shift spot if you wanted to. But you're giving up a lot of outfield ground. So, we'll see. I think that there could be some creative ways that teams are going to do some fun stuff at times. I don't think it's going to be as commonplace. But yeah, I'm excited for the bigger bags. I think, does this prove that 2 inches is a big deal?
3 inches. 3
3
inches.
inches.
Colby, don't short it now. Like, that, it happens everywhere, okay? But like, come on now. Like, when we originally talked about this back in September, Shelby and I, it's possibly my most favorite line/moment of any of the recordings that we've ever done, was when we originally started talking about this, and I just kind of off the cuff, and she was very serious about it. She was like, it's going from 15 inches to 18 inches, blah, blah, blah. And she just kind of paused, and I was like, well, I mean, doesn't everybody need an extra 3 inches in her life? And she just kind of paused, and then it hit her what I actually said, and then she just died laughing, and it made us both crack up. And I think for like a minute and a half, we were both laughing, because she's like, well, maybe not me, because, her girlfriend Olivia may have something to say about that. Like, it was one of those kind of things. And so we died laughing, and it is possibly one of my most favorite moments on the show. And it was so early on in the episodes that not everyone got to witness the hilarity of our exchanges. And so I had to clip it on YouTube and send it on its way. And it got a little bit of traction on Twitter. They're like, wow, Suzy, wow. I'm like, what we do around here, we're all about the teenage boy humor. So, but yeah, the quote unquote pizza boxes, as I've heard them delicately put on Twitter, is a little much. But depending on, the runners and whatnot, I feel like we're going to have lots more steals. I mean, couple that with like the pickoff rule, and I think we're just going to have utter chaos on the base paths.
Yeah. And to touch on the shift real quick, I think the thing about the shift is obviously it's going to help pull hitters from the left side, especially maybe find some extra holes, pick up a few extra base hits and whatnot. But it also emphasizes the importance of second base defense, a place where oftentimes players kind of get buried if they're not great. I'm a Reds fan. Like, Jonathan India is not a good fielding second baseman. Like, what happens to him now that he has to cover even more space at a given time, right? So that's definitely intriguing. The stolen base is such a fun thing in baseball. And I feel like everybody loves stolen bases. Now, is it the smartest play? The analytics will oftentimes say no. But as just a viewer, the aesthetics of a stolen base are awesome, right? Like, it's just a fun thing to watch. So anything that they can do to incentivize or entice players to steal more bases, I'm all for, because at the end of the day, I just want to watch a good product.
Right. Well, and I feel so not bad. Bad is not the word that I want to use. I feel like they should not have had to change the rules in order for players to want to steal. However, depending on your views on stealing and analytics and all that fun stuff, if you steal and get caught, like, the analytics are like, no, it's a bad idea. Don't do it. Like, we don't want you to do it. Well, but it's so much more fun to watch, right? Like, so the new baseball fan in me is like, screw it, let's do it. Like, I want to see more. I want to see more running. And then, like, the old get off my lawn, shaking my fist at the kids is like, Rob Manfred, stop your meddling. It's one of those things. And so I have the mixed feelings on it, and I want my cake, and I want to eat it too, is the problem.
Yeah, I think this is just the evolution of sports, though, Suzy, right? Like, as players evolve and get better at the sport, the game is going to have to change with it, right? Like, you go back 10, 15, 20, 25 years ago, guys were not, they didn't have 1-8 pop times to second. They weren't throwing 95 down the second base like they are now. And so, yeah, to incentivize people to steal, I think it was a necessary change. And like going back, I'm an analytics guy. This is my background. So you guys are coming at me a little bit here, but
no. I love the analytics. Like, I don't understand all the analytics, but when the analytics say don't steal, it's not a good idea.
Yeah.
But like you really want a motherfucker to steal,
which is good, which is why I'm glad that they're doing something to incentivize that. A question that I wanted to bring up, and it was a question that a friend of mine texted me last week, was how is this going to affect the distance from home to first? Will it shorten it by 3 inches as well?
I don't have that answer. Maybe?
I don't think so. I think the way that the base works, home. I'm trying to do this backwards. For
I got you.
Watching home to first, right? Is this whatever? You know what I'm saying? The in line where that base will still be the same base. Okay. So if the base is this small, it's still here. If it's this big,
that makes sense,
way, right? So it's still the same distance. Now the distance from first to second, second to third, and subsequently, I guess third to home will be the same as well.
Okay,
so it'll go deeper.
Hey now,
whoa!
Again, see, we have this is why Shelby and I work, is because we both would have been like, yes. Anyhow, so home to first then won't matter, but stealing first to second is what you're saying. Yeah. Okay. So that breakdown that was it Harold and someone did on MLB Network when they basically had like the bags like on top of one another, like showing the differences and whatnot. I want spring training to start so that I can see all of these new rules in motion and actually see what's going to happen, because I mean, obviously that in the games and stuff, that's where we're going to see the, hey, go try and steal. Like, let's see how this really works. I can't wait. I mean, for obviously everybody knows Astros are my team, so I just can't wait to see like Kyle Tucker just take off and how many bags he can actually steal this year.
Yeah, it was 100%. Also a thing in the minor leagues last year. A lot of these rules do apply to what was tested in the minor leagues, which is oftentimes how they do rule changes. They begin in the minors. And I watch minor league baseball, not every single day like Aram does, and I don't know how often.
I mean, really, who does though besides Aram?
What's that?
I said, who does watch minor league baseball?
I know, yeah. But it was a little bit more faster paced without you noticing. It wasn't like it felt rushed, right? You could watch pitches just happen a little bit quicker. The games went by just a hair faster. I was looking at average game times the other day, and in like 1911, the average game time was 1 hour and 47 minutes. And now it's up right around, it's bounced in the past 10 years from 3 hours or 2:58 to about 3:10 at its peak. Around that 3 hours and 10 minutes or around 3 hours. I'm not one that's like, we need to make this some compact, quick game, but the pace in between pitches being sped up even slightly is just a more enjoyable watch, in my opinion. It's
right.
Not that I disliked the other one, when like what it has been, but a little bit faster in between pitches isn't going to hurt anybody really.
Well, so for the people who are not familiar with the pitch timer and whatnot, so basically, without runners on base, pitchers have to throw their pitch 15 seconds.
15
seconds, right? However, the batters also have to be in the box and ready to hit at 8 seconds, or is that 7 seconds?
Something like that.
So, between the two, I think it's going to be really interesting, especially. And I'm for reference again, since I watch a lot of Astros, like our guy Kyle Tucker loves to step out, grab a handful of dirt, because he obviously pitching gloves or batting gloves not a thing, rub the dirt, spit, like do all the things. And I'm really wondering, sir, can you do this in 7 seconds? Like I need to see this, I want to see how much that will affect the batters versus the pitchers.
The funniest early storyline so far was Kenley Jansen saying that he can't compete in the WBC yet until the semifinals because he's working on getting his time in between pitches down. Like, that was literally the entire reason that he couldn't compete, because this is so, he's 37, 38 now. Like, he's been doing this his entire career, and now the rhythm that he's been in for his entire career is being completely thrown off, and he has to literally spend a month working on it.
Yep.
Insane.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Go ahead, Clay.
Oh, sorry. A thing about these, changes is it happens in every single sport. It's just baseball. It hasn't happened as recently. If you're really a baseball purist, then wouldn't you want the 1869 rules, right? Like, if you're Mr. Baseball purist or whatever, wouldn't you want those rules, which sucked, and not the rules that we have? It has changed over time. It just hasn't changed in such a long time that it feels kind of weird. And people are saying, oh, they're taking away what I grew up with or whatnot. Every sport does this, right? It's just baseball hasn't done it at the same pace or the same rate as the NBA, NFL, NHL. And another thing about it is, usually these rule changes, people are worked up about them in the beginning. When was the last time you heard somebody bitch and complain about the DH and the NL? You haven't, because people just got used to it, and they kind of realized, hey, this is actually kind of nice. I don't have to watch Johnny Cueto go up there and leave a bat on his shoulders for 3 pitches. Everyone complained about it in the beginning. 2 years out, no one even thinks about it. And that's right? Probably what's going to happen.
But I really kind of want to see Zach Greinke, hit a line drive, okay?
It is nice. It is nice, right? But, it's so funny how people are that's true.
Shohei Ohtani hits when he pitches. You just got to be good enough.
People said, it takes away from the strategy of the game, right? If it takes away from the strategy of the game. Well, if the strategy of the game is just automatic outs every 9th batter, that's not really strategy. The better strategy would be closer games or more runs or, a better product that could lead to additional strategy instead of just, can I take my pitcher out right now?
Right. Well, so, I don't know if you guys are super familiar with, I only started watching baseball in 2018. Before 2018, I was a big black hole of baseball knowledge. That's where baseball knowledge came to die, my brain. So I have gone back and started watching old, World Series from the past. And I'm currently on the 2014 World Series. And going back and, watching these World Series compared to now, and it's not that long ago, 2014. And in my head, I'm that was last year. It wasn't. It was 9 years ago,
Giants Royals?
I'm sorry?
The Giants Royals? Who was in
Giants
that?
Royals, yeah.
Okay.
I was going to say, don't tell me who wins. I actually know who wins because Logan Webb spoiled that for me. But it's one of those where the pace of the game back then is different than what it is now, and the game 4 is what I just watched. So it was Vargas versus not Vogelback, Vogelsong, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Who are these motherfuckers? But
Chris
one of them's throwing a 91 mile an hour fastball. I'm sorry, a 91 mile an hour.
Was a thinker guy. Yeah.
And I was what are we doing here? I was oh, all right. But again, I'm viewing that in the spectrum of 2023 ball, where everyone's throwing, massive heat and, dirty curve balls. I'm oh, that's the game back then. And I feel so old.
It's changed a lot.
It's changed a lot in 10 years. The crazy thing is too, is even if you don't throw 100 miles an hour, you're throwing 92 with certain pitch characteristics that make that pitch look 97.
Right.
Every pitch is optimized, and this is why the rule changes are good, because you need to change something when there's a disadvantage for, especially the offense. The offense is at a huge disadvantage now, and then they're de-juicing the ball. At least last year they did, which I hope they bring back more lively ball, because nobody wants to watch pitchers duels.
What are you talking about? Aaron Judge had all of the Goldilocks balls.
He did.
What do you mean?
I don't know.
Oh,
Suzy, can I ask you a question?
yeah.
You joined the baseball fandom in 2018. You saw 2 years of baseball, and then you saw 2020, which was some weird, bizarre video game simulation of a baseball season. As a new baseball fan, like, how different and weird was that? Just like new being, a relative term. 2 years
Well,
is relatively new.
so it was really weird. Just because I wanted baseball to start, and the fact that it did not start on time, and then we had the weird, like, yes, you can play, but there's not going to be any people in the stadium kind of thing, and they like pipe the noise in and all that bullshit.
So strange.
I was like, all right, I guess, whatever.
Whoa.
I was just, at that point, I was just happy for baseball, and
Mhm.
I hadn't gotten into, like the Taiwanese leagues and the Chinese leagues and all that fun stuff yet. And so I was just excited that there was baseball, and I hadn't gone back to the depths of like YouTube to watch all of the older games and whatnot. So I was a little weirded out by it, but at that point I was just so elated that actual baseball had happened that I was like, I don't even give a fuck if there's only 60 games. Like, just give me the baseball, all of the baseball. So, I know for like my husband, who had been a baseball fan forever, he's like, no, this isn't baseball. I'm like I'm fine with it, whatever. So
Yeah.
since I guess I was so new, quote unquote, to the game, like it didn't bother me as much. But I know for, like fans of the game had forever were like, this is not the game that I know. What is this bullshit? I'm like,
I loved it. Like, I don't want 60 games every year, but having it that one time was like kind of electric. Just like the importance of each game being so much higher. The stats were crazy, right? And Colby and I, when we do the Juice Fantasy show, we kind of have to remember, like, oh, this guy's home run to fly ball rate was 26%. Oh, well, it was 42 games in 2020. Like, what do we really make of that? Like, going into that 2021 season with uncertainty and like not knowing what to make of the stats, like Willie Castro, who is not a good baseball player, batted like 346 or something in 2020, and all these Tigers fans are like, yes, the next coming, Willie Castro. And now he's like getting minor league invites to spring training. But I had no idea what to do with the stats, and I wanted to ask Colby about that, like how you analyze those 2020 stats where everything was so strange, the sample size was so small. Like,
he's
what
like,
the hell did you do?
Get out the window. We don't need
I really do. I genuinely throw it out the window. Like, I think it's one of those things where if he played well, if a player played well, you can't knock him for it. But if a player played bad, I'm just like, whatever. 60 games. Yeah. Like, the other thing that you can't know in that time is like the mental aspect of the game was so weird at that time, right? You're playing a short season. You're dealing with, a global pandemic. You're not playing in front of fans, which I think that was the greatest. Like, I think genuinely one of the greatest things that's happened to ticket sales is COVID, because people realize how much they miss going to baseball games, how much they miss going to live events. And now people have that itch to go back to live events. Like, it was depressing. It was really depressing seeing baseball in front of no fans, like the cardboard cutout fans. I was like, is this Mario baseball? No, it looked like not Mario baseball, like Wii Sports
backyard baseball.
Like Wii Sports baseball with like the little jump in things in the stands.
Right. Yeah, it was. So, I mean, again, I apparently am going to reference my favorite player of all time, Kyle Tucker, yet again. He doesn't get hot for like 40 games. Like the last couple of seasons, his first couple months are just ridiculous. And you're like, Kyle Tucker, I need you to wake up. So in 2020, I'm like, oh, poor Kyle Tucker. Like, all of these stats are just gonna go right out the window, because it's gonna take him that long to get warmed up and like in the groove of shit. And so I took 2020 with a grain of salt, and just everything about 2020 was just weird and awkward, and like, quote unquote, baseball was played, but not baseball, because, the Dodgers won the World Series, and Like,
Suzy, do you think that Kyle Tucker takes a while to get going because he's building up calluses on his hands? Like, I've been wondering about that. Like the no batting gloves guys, like I don't know how they do it because when I hit batting gloves versus no batting gloves, there's a definite difference in like my swing speed and how I control the bat. And I don't understand how the dirt does anything either because dirt's not sticky. It's not gonna. That's just like creating less friction.
I have no idea. And you're talking to the person that has like the least amount of athletic prowess in the entire world. So I don't know how any of that actually works. But I figure his spit may have some sort of magical properties that when mixed with the dirt, just
maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah. It's amazing that there are guys that don't hit with batting gloves. I think so. And this is a research project that I'd love to do is like see swing speed with batting gloves and without batting gloves for these players that don't use batting gloves.
Well,
and like,
but I mean,
see if
like,
there is a difference.
when did batting gloves come into existence? Because I mean, like, I don't know. Like, you don't see Ted Williams wearing batting gloves. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it was like the 60s, 70s.
When I don't know, but people were like, "Hey, guess what? I don't want calluses on my hands." Like, you are right. I want to do a research project on this now to figure out like when the fuck batting gloves came into existence and why.
Like Driveline needs to get on this. I'm gonna pitch them on this. So.
Okay, you do that. I don't have any ins with Driveline, but Colby, you go on with your bad self. So, I know Clay, you've got to get going here. So I kind of want to jump into y'all's new podcast, Just Fantasy Baseball. So for those who don't know, obviously, I got into fantasy baseball last season, like heavy into fantasy baseball. And Clay, I think you said it on one of your last episodes that if people want to know more than just their team and want to know more players around the league and whatnot, fantasy baseball is a great way to do that. And I was like, ding, ding, ding. That's what I did last year. Everyone was like, Suzy, how do you know that Pete Alonso was the home run champ, you know, in 2021? I'm all, because I watched and did all the fantasy baseballs and I wanted to get all the good players. Like that's, you know, so,
Yeah.
So how long have y'all played the fantasy baseballs? Like forever? Is this a thing since you've been a
Colby, you go
teenager?
first.
Like when?
Yeah, sure. So Suzy, I've played baseball my whole life. I still do play baseball and I play in a men's league in New York City. Just been my passion for my whole life, but I've always been good with math and numbers too. So I think
So deep down you're Asian is what you're telling me, Colby.
exactly.
Is that okay. Just I wanted to make sure that my brain understood. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, I think I want to say it was about 5th or 6th grade. I started playing with some friends. Like, you know, we didn't really know anything about fantasy sports specifically. Like, we knew who good baseball players were. Like, we would just do a little draft together, me and my like baseball buddies, right? I think the time that I started getting really serious with it though was about, you know, freshman or sophomore year in high school. I got asked to join a keeper league with some older guys.
What is the keeper league?
What is the keeper league?
Yes.
Okay, so a keeper league is like at the end of the season, you get to keep, you know, 5 or 8 or 10 of your players from your team that year to carry over into the next year.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
And there's different rules about that, like whether you can just keep them like at a salary, you can keep them at like whatever round you took them in last year. There's different ways to do this, right?
Gotcha.
But that was really when I started getting serious with it. And I wasn't very good at the time, but the 2 friends that I played with at the time were like starting to get into Fangraphs. They were telling me to go check out Fangraphs. We were starting to get into like advanced stats. And like back then, the amount of advanced stats that you could use was not great. Like Baseball Savant did not exist. It was just Fangraphs. You could barely get hard hit data. It was like, you know, WRC plus was kind of it. K percentage was it. And then from there, it just expanded and I got really into baseball analytics. I got into pitching metrics, specific pitching metrics. I was reading Fangraphs every day. And then I went to Syracuse and I studied sport analytics. So fantasy baseball is honestly what, you know, got me into sport analytics to begin with. And it's kind of cool to like kind of come full circle now, like working for a baseball media company, having my own, fantasy baseball show, because this is where the analytics dream started. And it's using analytics can win you your fantasy league, and it's proven.
So you said you went to Syracuse. So is that where you met Jack and Aram and Peter and all the guys?
So I didn't know Peter in college. So Aram lived on my freshman floor. He was a sophomore at the time. And we met because we loved baseball. And then from there, we just started hanging out a lot, watching a lot of baseball. He played on the club baseball team as well as I did. So it just it started this really, really close friendship. And I was also, so Aram actually helped me get my first writing job, which was writing for Fish Stripes.
Very cool.
Marlins blog. So I was writing about the Marlins, and he had a podcast with Fish Stripes as well and was writing. So yeah, he helped me kind of get my first gig, and now I'm working with him, in as like a full-time job, which is amazing. So
very cool. So now, Clay, how do you fit into the picture? Where are you coming in?
Yeah, so I've always been a huge baseball fan, and my parents do not like sports. So growing up, it was just kind of like I just kind of found what I liked and did it by myself. My brother likes the Reds too, so we would watch games growing up, and I probably learned about fantasy baseball. I think the first time I did it was senior year in high school, somewhere around then. And I love the everyday aspect of it. A lot of people hate that. I like routine, so I was just like, yeah, wake up, do this for 5-10 minutes, whatever. Check the waiver wire, and I played for a few years. And then I didn't play any fantasy sports, football, basketball, nothing. I played hockey, fantasy hockey, basketball, and football all at some point. But I kind of gravitated back to baseball. And I just really got into it. And I won a league one year. And the amount of time I was putting into it each day, I mean, I was hooked. Every single day I was just wake up, go to Google, type in fantasy baseball, sort by date, news, and just read every article from the past 24 hours. Just, seeing how other people think about teams, what sleepers, who to pick up, and had a bunch of fun with that. So I actually started, whatever you want to call what I do now with just baseball. It started in 2019. I had thought, I really like reading about sports, talking about sports. I want a platform to write about it, but I don't have any experience. I didn't go to school for this. And Locked On Reds had just started a website, and they were still relatively, new or small then. They've grown a ton since then. And they were looking for people to write. So it's, unpaid, whatever. I messaged Jeff Carr and said, hey, I would love to do this. And he said, okay. So I started writing. I think I wrote like 75 articles, all Reds related. But I found out about Aram on Twitter, somehow stumbled across him, followed him. And I go on a few different Reds podcasts. So I said, Aram, would you be willing to come on? He blew us off the first time, said he was going to be there, never showed up. So he was nice enough to reschedule. And we were talking, and, just baseball was still new at this point. And Aram just reached out to me one day and said, hey, have you thought about writing, at a bigger capacity about more teams? And I'd wanted to cover the entire league and write about whoever I want to write about.
Right.
So I said, absolutely, I'll start tomorrow. And so I've been there now for, I think I started September of 2021.
Okay.
With just baseball. So just over a year. And I love covering every team. I love doing the fantasy podcast. Colby and I have been trying to put that together now since last summer. So it was a long time in the making, but it's fun, and it's cool that, Colby and I just get to bounce ideas off of each other. What I'm scared of and what I haven't thought about is people in my league listen to this show. So I get a message from two of them, and they're like, hey, by the way, thanks for letting me know this guy you're targeting. And I'm like, oh my gosh, man, I'm cutting off my head right now,
That's what. So when I had reached out to you guys to get you on the show, I was like, maybe I will wait till air this until after I draft for my leagues so that the people that I'm playing against won't know. And then I was like,
Just just set them up. Talk about players you don't like you like them, so that they select them.
It's very true. It's very true. But then I'm gonna get all excited and blurt out someone and then be like, shit, no, I meant not that one. That just did. So it's a whole thing. Like, my brain is like, deception. We can't keep up with the things that you want to keep up with. Like, don't do that to us. So I will just have to deal with people knowing about the show and knowing about all of the good players, and maybe that'll make me step up my game. I don't know. We'll see. But so let me ask you guys then, how many, as of like right now, how many different fantasy baseball leagues are you guys in?
So I know for a fact Clay keeps it pretty small. I think he might only be in 2 leagues because he likes to focus on those 2. This year, I'm not sure how many leagues I will be in. I know I'm locked in right now for 3 leagues. Like, I already have those, and I'll at least have another. No, actually, I already have 4. Excuse me. But one of them is a best ball league. So, like, best ball means you draft your team and you're stuck with that team. Like, there's only 2 windows to pick up players throughout the season. So, like, it's pretty casual. Like, you can kind of like set and forget it, which is good. I'll probably have at least another 3 or 4 more. I'll probably be around 6 to 7 leagues.
And Clay's just over there shaking his
so
head.
I only want to do 1 league. Honestly, my dream would be 1 league. Just Baseball started their league. I'm in that as well. It is funny that, like, the 1 league I am in for multiple years now does points, and the other one does like the categories, right, where he runs, RBIs, So they're 2 different leagues. So bouncing back and forth between them and knowing which players to pick up and how the different points add up for each one is a little bit challenging. But yeah, I've always kept it small just because I spend way too much time on it, like way too much time for each team. So I can't do the 6 or 7. Colby's just a psychopath, I guess.
I mean, it's hard. Like, there definitely are, like, I'm not going to be putting my 100% effort into all these leagues, right? Like, it's just impossible. It's really just impossible. So I know that some leagues, though, like, I'm playing with my friends and I can kind of get by doing my 50%. Like, if I draft well enough, I can pick up guys well enough. Like, I'll be fine in those leagues. But yeah, there definitely are more competitive leagues. And I'm trying to get into some more, like, competitive leagues, trying to, play against the experts. That's kind of the goal right now. Yeah.
So last year I was in 2 leagues, one where I was the commissioner of, and it was basically like the Wild Wild West because I had no idea what I was actually doing. And it was just a couple of my girlfriends and I. And it was basically, like I said, there were no rules. If you just wanted to intermingle players and just pick up everybody the day of, you could do it. And I, on accident, found out that, and it was through Yahoo Sports or whatnot. And so I found out that 1 a.m. Eastern time is when the new day, quote unquote, starts. So here I am at like 2 a.m. because one of my like dogs wanted to go outside, and I check Yahoo for some stupid reason because I'm an idiot, and I'm all, oh, look at here, like I can pick up Dylan Cease, done. Dylan Cease, here I am. And then my girlfriends are like, how did you pick up Dylan Cease at 2:03 a.m.? I was like, I don't know. I was just awake and just happened to look at it. So then like psychopaths, we would all stay up until 2 a.m., literally the second 2 a.m. hit, so that we could draft our pitchers for the day. We're psychotic. And so now there's 2 of them. They're like, are we doing this again? I was like, I don't know. Do y'all want to? And they're like, duh. Well, okay, so don't come at me when you say that you're fucking tired because you stayed up till 2 a.m. because we're drafting fucking pitchers, okay? Like, don't. But the other league that I was in had this really weird scoring system, and I still don't understand how the fuck it was scored, because it was like points, but it wasn't. It was just really weird. I don't know. The one that I was a commissioner in was points, and it made more sense in my brain.
Yeah.
This year, I joined two different leagues, and I don't have a clue like what they are. And everyone's like, well, this one's roto and this one's head to head. I'm sorry, there's different ways of going about this. So
Let me break it down for you, Suzy. Let me break it down for you.
I have to dive in. Yes. Colby, please.
So roto or rotisserie league is basically a full season long league where you're not going head to head with any specific team. You're actually playing against every team every week to like have the most amount of home runs, the most amount of saves, most amount of everything for the entire season.
Right.
And you're moving up. It's basically like you're moving up and down a standings every single week, which I actually kind of like. I've played that style and I do like it, but head to head is good when you're playing in like in a league with friends, because then you can be chirpy.
Okay. So the one that I'm in that's head to head is, for our other show, Back That Astros Up, is the guys over there. So I don't think I know any of them enough to chirp well enough to be.
Well, I think you'll have to get there.
Well,
start
we'll
small.
See. We'll see. That's not hard for me because I'm only 5'2", So, it's a whole thing. Anyways, so Clay, I know that it's 12:45 your time. Do you need to go?
Yes. If there's anything else, though, I'll be happy to answer anything before I go. But you'll be left in great hands with Colby here, and he's he'll walk you through any intense fantasy questions.
We will definitely hit on the show. Clay, before you leave real quick though, tell the people where they can find you on social medias. Yeah,
so I'm on Twitter. It is at